Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us today for another episode of What's Your Why Wednesday. Today, I am joined by the lovely Elizabeth Sabbatini. She is the Director of Implementation at Acrolis. Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us today, and thank you for saying yes to me after we met each other at the NAM Focus Conference in Orlando, Florida in January.
Thank you so much, Laura, for having me on. And it was a pleasure meeting you at the conference. I was very inspired by your panel there and excited to talk to you today.
Awesome. Okay, we're going to jump right in. Well, Elizabeth, most of us came into the mortgage industry by accident. But what keeps us here is that it's tied to our personal and professional why. So, Elizabeth, please share with us, what's your why?
Laura, I completely agree. I had no idea that I was going to be working in the mortgage industry, but that excites me. There's so much to learn in mortgage, and my why is always finding that motivation and challenge that inspires me, and mortgage provides all of that, right? There's constant evolution and growth and new ideas and technologies that come about. So, my personal why around finding what motivates, what inspires, that's what sort of aligns in mortgage with me.
So I have a follow-up question to that. Okay, so here you go, you get a job in the mortgage industry, you're new to it, right? You're hearing all these strange terminologies and conversations happening. I'm curious, what were some of your first thoughts about the mortgage industry when you first joined us?
I said, I might not be able to learn as quickly as I once did in my prior, industries that especially our company, Acrolis, was in. We started in small business fintech. It was a short learning curve. We were able to quickly tap into, the space and learn about our customers. And then with mortgage, I said, it's not going to be that easy this time around. But I have found that a lot of the veterans and experts I've met along the way are so willing to help. And I love that. I love collaboration. So knowing that people who know a lot more than me are willing to take the time and coach and train is great. That's something I hope to pass down.
Well, that makes me very happy because as one of the veterans of our industry, that's what we strive for. When I came into this industry, it was kind of different. It was more of it kind of was like a closed door. It's kind of like if you didn't know the password to how to get past the door, you weren't getting any help. Thankfully, that's changed. Thankfully, people are much more open to share and collaborate. And we know that through collaboration, we all grow and do better. So I'm happy to hear that. That is awesome. Okay. So my next question, and this is the one I really, really enjoy because everyone has their own personal experiences and growth that they receive through experiences they have. So can you please share with us, give us a story when you realize the impact that you have on others?
That's a great question. So at one point I was asked to do a panel and I thought, it's my first time public speaking. This is a great opportunity for me to practice and get more comfortable and confident with public speaking. It's a challenge I know many of us face. It's, different than just talking one-on-one or in a meeting. So I sort of agreed to do it, thinking it was a small event and, I had nothing to lose. And then long behold, the event, triples in size. There's hundreds of people and I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but I share that story with a lot of others that I work with, that I, network with, women, and tell them and be completely honest and authentic and say, I was scared and I felt like I was taking a risk and I might mess up and not know what I was saying on that panel. And I think that impacts of that story when I share it with others is that people realize it's okay to not feel 100% certain. And sometimes authenticity and risk and bravery makes up for, lack of experience or not being the best public speaker that you may be. Just taking that step into something that you're not comfortable with and knowing that, worst comes to worst, I get back up and I learn from it, but it's something, regardless I can do and I can accomplish. I love sharing that story because I do think it has an impact on others. And I see it, a weight lift off of other shoulders saying, hey, wow, you did that. Okay. next time, someone asks me to do a blog post or talk on a podcast, I hope that, they say yes.
Yes. And my philosophy about that. I believe you should say yes every day, like the book behind me, because how can we ever grow if we continue to be complacent in what we've always done before? We can never get better. We can never improve. And yes, it's scary. It always is scary doing something the first or second or third time, because you may not be as confident, but it takes those little steps that makes it so that we can begin to run and we can begin to go faster. So I always like to say, when I rolled out my book, I said something, and I have to remind myself of this sometimes. If we had a little baby and all of a sudden that baby is starting to stand up and the baby's holding on to the table, eventually that baby is going to walk. We know the baby's walking, right? At some point, whether it's at this month or this month, that baby's walking, and we're not going to stop helping them until they walk. Right. Why is it that as adults, we just give up? And regardless of what the goal is, regardless of what it is, we just say, that got complicated. I got a little frustrated. I might be a little embarrassed. No. If you were the baby, you would keep getting up until you walk. Exactly. We need to have that same mentality as adults.
I agree. Awesome. And that's something I've tried to embody, definitely.
Yes. And believe me, it's a movement going on, Elizabeth. I'm telling everyone, we're pulling everyone out of that comfort zone.
Love it.
All right. So now let's go to the leader side. So what are your thoughts of what can leaders in our industry do to make a difference in the lives of our teams? Because that's so important, as we all continue to lift each other up.
Definitely. I think the ability to respect and listen to different opinions and listen to your team and colleagues and collaborate around those differences and varying approaches is something as leaders we should do more of. I think a lot of the times teams or colleagues don't necessarily know when they should share, what to share, how to collaborate. And I think as a leader, make it known that you respect different thoughts. And as a leader, I try to be really compassionate in that way and ask a lot of hows and what would you do? And, to get my teams thinking and really pushing themselves and challenging themselves. So I think as leaders, we can all be fair in that way and listen to others and be compassionate, not to say that, we shouldn't be tough and we shouldn't be, mentors, but it's great to hear from others.
I really like what you just said about the questions. Yes. I think asking questions, how would you do? What do you think? Just those couple of questions and calling out team members, because again, just like the panel, right? Just like getting up on the stage, a lot of times people are nervous about sharing their opinion, or they're nervous about, oh, I'm not sure if I'm confident in this topic of discussion. But by calling them out in a safe way, it allows them to realize that your opinion does matter. We do want to hear from you. So I love the fact of, yes, ask those questions, and then of course, listen to what they have to say. And yes, show your empathy and your compassion and listening skills to be able to, whether or not you execute it, really doesn't even matter. It's the fact of someone feeling they were heard.
Exactly.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Final question. All right. This is fast forwarding. This is as you're building your career. I want to know, how do you want to be known in the mortgage industry? And the way I want you to define it is, if you weren't in the room, how would you hope others would describe you? Give me a couple of words that they would use.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Really makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. It does. Yes, I would say, driven and motivated. And I use the word driven because there's a lot of challenges and potentially roadblocks, right? Regulations and, adoption of technology and, new practices that, you know, at least in my opinion, mortgage can easily be a setback, a challenge, something that gets in your way. So I'd love to be that person that is constantly driven and learning from those moments, and not just, I guess, what we were saying earlier, you know, stuck in one place or stagnant, like someone that's always moving forward.
Right. Yeah. Not just repeating the same process, but actually analyzing what is happening. It's funny. I say sometimes that if there's something in front of me, I'm either going through it, over it, or around it because it's not stopping me. So yes, that's what you're looking for. You're driven because whatever that boulder is, whether it's regulation, whether it's lack of adoption, whether it's whatever challenges come, you're going to figure out a way to go over, through, or around it.
Exactly. That's a great way to put it.
Awesome. I love it, Elizabeth. Well, thank you again so much for saying yes to being with us and sharing your why. It's so important that everyone gets to see how amazing our industry is, and just as this opportunity for us to learn from you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Laura. Pleasure.